Good evening, and welcome to a meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Bendo.
Present.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Here.
Vice President Fiamara.
Here.
President Finn.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Dan Creighton and Corporation Counsel Dennis Cohen. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
I'd like to ask Building Commissioner Scott Kemmons to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scott. I asked Scott to lead us in the pledge because he's an all-around great guy for this city, but also a member of the Volunteer Fire Department. I'd like to just recognize Ray Elmer, who passed away last week. His funeral is coming up this week on Friday. Ray was a volunteer fireman for a long time, a Long Beach lifeguard for forever and ever. Really an all-around great guy, a friend of mine, and a great friend to Long Beach. And I think it's appropriate at least to have just a moment of silence for Ray, for all he's done for the city. I think the city owes him a debt of gratitude. On the same emotion, I would be remiss to not say that a moment of silence for police officer Jonathan Diller, who was murdered just about 5 miles away from here last week, and his funeral was over the weekend. It's sad to watch that anytime it happens, but when it happens so close to us, I think it's a reminder of how lucky we are to have a great police force and great police officers here in Long Beach. And so a moment of silence for police officer Jonathan Diller. Thank you very much, and let's hope we can have a much happier meeting than that stuff, but we had to get it out there. Those are great people that we lost. Going to have our city manager is going to give his report.
Good evening, all. To start, as everyone knows, we are deep into the budget season and expect to have a draft of the budget ready for public consumption on Friday the 19th. The council challenged my staff to deliver a budget with a 0% increase for residents. I am pleased to state that we are getting closer each day to achieving that goal. Thank you to all of the department heads and our partners in the unions for working so hard to get us to this point. I especially would like to thank our comptroller, Ina Resnick, and her staff for the great work in managing the fiscal responsibilities of the city. On the public works front, the streetscaping work continues as planned on Park Avenue between Long Beach Boulevard and Riverside. Nearly all of the sidewalk and curb is complete on the north side of the street, except for the post office driveway. In about a week or so, we will move to the south side of Park Avenue. While these upgrades are much needed, we recognize the challenges our local businesses are going through during this process and continue to encourage our residents to make an extra effort to patronize them. Thank you to all of the business owners and patrons who have been very patient during this construction. Other exciting news, the equipment has been delivered and is now being assembled for the revitalization of the Pacific Playground. In addition to the new play equipment, the decking area is being expanded and shade structures are being added. We're looking forward to reopening that playground in advance of Memorial Day. Last week, new parking meters were installed at the Long Island Railroad parking garage as part of our ongoing efforts to improve that area. They are replacing meters that were well beyond their useful life and anticipate rolling out an app-based solution for Long Island Railroad parking within the next month. Before moving on to upcoming events, I would like to give my respect to the combined paid and volunteer fire department once again. On Thursday, March 21st, just before noon, a fire event occurred in the West Home area. Within minutes of the alarm, our fire department was on scene and extinguished the fire before it could spread. Once again, a great job was done by our combined fire department. Finally, there are two upcoming events. This Saturday is the second annual Garen Hagen Memorial Hockey Day at the Long Beach Ice Arena. First game starts at 2:30 p.m. and the second at 5 p.m. A donation of $10 is suggested at the door. I suggest everyone gets there early, as it promises to be a packed event. This has really turned out to be an amazing event in memory of an amazing young man, and I encourage everyone to attend. Second, April is Earth Month, so we have a paper shredding and electronic waste recycling program on Sunday the 14th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also on Sunday the 21st, the city is partnering with Hempstead, the town of Hempstead, to hold the annual Stop Throwing Out Pollutants program from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Both of these events are held behind City Hall and are a great opportunity for our residents to dispose of any potential harmful items in a responsible way. These are both free services, and residents are strongly encouraged to take advantage of them. I think that's all I have for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Okay, on to the agenda. Item 1 is a resolution appointing a hearing officer for the City of Long Beach.
All right, this item is to appoint Teresa Williams, Esquire, as a hearing officer for potential vehicle hearings. Dennis is available to address any questions or concerns we may have on this issue, on this item.
Any comments from the council?
Jen? Make sure. Dennis, could you just tell us a little bit about her resume? I know that she has some experience, and just think it'd be nice to know.
Yeah, so both this hearing officer and the woman who's in item 2, which is Ona Eric, they both have experience as hearing officers with state agencies. I did speak with both of them. They are have many years of experience doing not similar to the types of hearings that we'll be hearing. I think one was doing disability cases for New York State. Actually, they both were doing the same type of work, but they both have sufficient experience to be able to handle what I expect will be a pretty small caseload here.
And they're paid by the case, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if we never have any cases, it's
Correct.
free.
Correct.
Oh, thank you.
And you anticipate it being very sparse,
I do.
the workload? Yeah.
Does that mean we have good scofflaws?
No comment.
Any comments from the public? Okay, we'll close it.
Item 2 is also a resolution appointing a hearing officer for the City of Long Beach.
So similar to item 1, as Dennis said, this resolution is to appoint Ona Enrique as Esquire as a hearing officer for the same situations. Again, Dennis is available, but I think we just went over the situation.
Roy? Nope. Okay, good. Any comments from the public? Okay, we'll close that.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase various T-shirts and athletic apparel with imprints from the lowest responsible bidders.
Okay, this item, as mentioned, is to purchase T-shirts and athletic apparel to the lowest responsible bidder. Each item was individually bid and is being awarded to the lowest of 7 bidders in each category. I know that there's been questions with regards to quantities ordered in the past. This resolution is to award the contract. Orders will come in the future. Before ordering, I will review personally to ensure the quantity being ordered is appropriate for the use.
Any comments from the council?
Yeah, this is something that I have refused to vote on before because we really didn't get an explanation of the shirts. If you look at the numbers, theoretically that could be ordered. It was, I believe, well over 10,000. But we've dug into this pretty closely, and it's something that, you know, I'm not real happy about. I think we ordered 7,283 T-shirts last year, which I find a lot. But on the other hand, a lot of these T-shirts are sponsored. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly how much we're spending and how much we get in the sponsorship, but we did address this with Dan, and he's going to be really watching out for it. There, a lot of places where we're trying to achieve a zero budget. And so he's looking, that the fact that we have to look at each T-shirt is necessary if you're really trying to be fiscally responsible. And that's been promised to us, and that's why this year I'm going to support this.
Yeah, and I think we've also looking at ways, if there happens to be excess T-shirts, things that we can do, whether it's through, a T-shirt sale, donating, things like that. Just things aren't going into the dumpster. We don't want to waste anything. So with Dan's eye and with everybody, with Joe taking a good look at everything as well, I think we can achieve that.
I don't want to shock you, Roy, but I agree with most of what you said.
Strike that from the record.
I agree. This is important that we scrutinize it, and I think that Joe has a good handle on it. He's been doing it a long time, and I think that we can always trim fat somewhere. Dan will do that. Any comments from the public? Okay, we'll close that.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
So item 4 is to authorize settlement of a tax assessment valuation resulting in a refund of $29,283 from fiscal years 2021 through 2023-24. It also includes through years 2026-27, in that another grievance cannot be filed for 3 years. This is with Long Beach Commons, and Ray is available if you have any questions regarding the item.
I think Ray's coming up.
Any questions?
Just, Ray, I'm just not sure of something. There's a reduction in the assessed valuation from, that's in the past, and that's where the $29,000 comes from?
It's the 4 years plus the upcoming year. We'll have a reduction of assessment, so next year, in July, they'll have a reduced tax bill, which will be about $26,000. It's about 29.5 right now.
So, and that reduction goes forward, they cannot...
And then it's the assessment's frozen for 3 years, so they can't protest it, they can't go to court.
And we can't raise it either?
Unless they do a physical change, then the moratorium's out the window, and they could challenge it if I raise it.
So we actually hand them $30,000, and then the rest of it is what they cannot...
Yeah, once it's recorded, we've signed the settlement, they demand the money, then they get a check for the refund.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, because this is a commercial property, the revenue and expenses are a factor in the assessment, correct?
Yeah, and this strip of stores, they've had some bad tenants. It's a block on Park Avenue that's had some vacancies. It includes the COVID years.
Right. So, if I understand correctly, I think this includes 5 storefronts.
Yes.
And 2 of them are currently vacant.
That's correct.
Which would contribute to a lower assessment since he's got lower
Possibly.
revenues.
We tend to use the market, not just the vacancy for their stores, but the vacancy rate for the entire neighborhood.
Right, but if he
yeah.
rents out these 2 properties, right, the 2 vacant storefronts, his revenues jump back up. So does that trigger
The
reassessment?
The valuation considers like a 5% vacancy rate built into the value. Not that they're not making income, but there's a 5% allowance within the value. If that makes sense.
So it doesn't take necessarily in count their specific, that he's got 2 empty storefronts that he
No.
may rent out
Yes.
during the period?
The valuation considers it rented, but allows for a vacancy and collection loss.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to get at, though, if he rents out these 2 empty storefronts during the period that he's getting the reduction during, he makes out, I keep saying he, the landlord makes out because the landlord's revenues go up but their assessment is still, has been lowered, correct?
No, the valuation is based on market rents, not that the stores are vacant, what they would reach if they're rented on the market. So the valuation considers them rented.
Okay, all right, so it doesn't take
Yeah.
into account that they're empty.
It does slightly. There's a vacancy rate put into the, built into the
Okay.
formula to determine the value.
So
So-
John, you're asking basically if it's based off of rent roll or the property? I
Correct.
think is what he's trying to
Yeah, what I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
it-
at is if he rents
Is
these...
it 100% occupancy, does
Yeah,
the
the-
value change on the tax assessment? Or is it based
no,
off of
it's-
property or rent roll?
All the property is generally valued between 95 to 90% occupancy to allow
That's
for
you asking, right?
Okay,
vacancy and any collection loss.
okay, so even if it was 100%, it's not valued at 100, because it's, you said there's a
Yeah, the market
a
dictates.
fudge factor in there, if that's the
For lack of a
technical
better term,
term.
yes.
A buffer.
A buffer. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
These things are almost always settled through negotiation, give and take. Is that it?
The majority of them, yes, are negotiated. I don't think we've gone to trial on a case since 2009 in the city. That was with my predecessor, one of my predecessors.
Right.
But we haven't been to trial since then, yeah.
So obviously that doesn't happen very often at all because that's 15 years ago. What is the cost to the city to go to trial to do something like that?
The cost of trial, you have to have a preliminary appraisal done, conference with the opposing counsel. Then if you want to continue, then you have to get a trial-ready appraisal, pay for a legal consultant possibly, and then pay for a trial-ready appraisal. Depending on the property, you're talking $15,000 to $25,000 right there.
Which, depending on the case, would then determine whether you want to go that far or not.
But yeah, that's part of the legal strategy,
Yeah,
taking into
right.
the cost of continuing the case as
Okay.
well.
Thanks.
If we should settle or not.
Who pays for the preliminary appraisal?
Depending on the property, yeah.
No, who pays for it? Is it the city?
The city does, yes.
Okay.
Any other council questions?
No, we know what this is.
Questions from the public? Comments? All right, thank you very much, Ray.
Thank
you.
you.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an assignment agreement.
This is to authorize an assignment agreement from USE Direct to Direct Technology Holdings, Inc., doing business as Yodel Pass for the electronic beach pass solution. John McNally and Joe Brand are available for any questions.
Comments from the council?
Oh, no.
I was going to make a presentation?
May not even need you.
All right, I guess so we're moving from one company to another. We're reassigning the contract because the company got bought. But it seems now we're moving on to Yodel. Have we already been on Yodel, or is is this a new system?
So after issuing an RFP in early 2021, we awarded for the 21 beach season the electronic beach pass process to USE Direct. They proposed a solution that they were going to do the front end sort of electronic purchasing, and then the passes would be transmitted through Yodel app. So it was a combined technology. As the past 3 years have progressed, that front end wasn't really working for us, and it turned out that just exclusively using Yodel was really what worked best for us and for our residents and for our visitors. So for the past year and a half, I would say, we've purely used the Yodel solution. Tyler Technologies this past year bought out USE Direct, and somewhat understandably so, they don't want to be held liable for a product that they don't manage, own, run. And considering that we're using purely Yodel, are satisfied with their service and their product, Yodel is more than happy to take over the contract agreement with us. That's kind of where we stand and what we're asking you guys to approve tonight.
So does this assignment agreement reflect the fact, because we're giving them a one-year extension as part of this, does it reflect we are going to be 100% on Yodel and off of their front end?
Yodel is taking over. The contract itself doesn't speak to which technology. It's sort of who is our vendor, who is our provider. So Yodel is assuming all responsibility for providing the service to Long Beach.
So
Does
we
that
have a
make sense?
contract that doesn't define the technology we're buying?
I would have legal further review, but I don't think it spells out specifically we're using this interface on this platform. It says we're providing an electronic beach pass solution.
Yeah, I mean, it references back to the RFP and the services that were supposed to be provided, and it adopts everything that was in the original agreement.
Okay. Do we know, how many electronic beach passes have we been selling?
Last year, I want to say it was 600,000 in revenue, thereabouts.
And most of them are just day passes? Okay.
And, go ahead, John.
Do we have residents buying seasonal passes or non-residents buying? Are we selling seasonal passes through these?
We are. I mean, the majority of it, well, I'll let you go.
I can give you the numbers. Resident individuals, 125 of them were sold. Resident families, 672 of them were sold. And then just going down the line, non-residents, 100 and 250. Non-resident seniors, 352. What else? Military, 112.
Okay, but it sounds like most people are still opting for the plastic, that
Yes.
get the seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's helped immensely with the daily
So it's
passes.
helping with the dailies is what it's helping with. Okay.
How dynamic is their reporting functionality? Like if you went into that system, can you run reports on where they were bought, how many? I mean, I see you have the totals, but just curious
Yeah.
how into the weeds can you get?
Well, I mean, in terms of where they're bought, you know, we can determine based on the equipment we use to scan the passes, where they're bought is wherever they're buying them from their phone or their computer, where the card is being scanned, entering the
Sorry,
beach
that's
park.
what- that's what I
yeah,
meant.
that we can tell. And for the most part, the daily passes are for people that are going in the center of town here.
Okay.
But the back-end reporting on it is pretty extensive. You know, we have, there's a number of components that you have to interface with the customer for, uploading proof of residency or proof of military. I mean, there's, there's a lot, not a lot, but there's some back and forth, not so much with the dailies, but it's pretty extensive.
I'd like to look into the future, have that kind of reporting for the regular passes that John just referred to. We've talked about it, you and I have talked about it with Phil and John as well, where perhaps we can go to a point where we scan, even the local passes so that everything has either a barcode or a QR code, so we can keep track of it and how many people go on the beach every day, right? I think we could do that probably next year, I'm hoping. Does this
Next year,
contract,
yeah.
this contract won't preclude that, right?
No, this could be, this contract can be terminated with 30 days.
Yeah, it's 30 days
Yeah,
termination.
I think that's where we should be at this point. Like, at ski resorts, they scan everybody's pass every time they go through. So you have to have your pass. And I think that's something that's important so that Long Beach can make some money off this great resource that we have and make it a positive thing, rather than something that we're fighting to keep our heads above water.
Well, because of the electronics pass solution, we do have the technology in hand of our ticket takers to, if we can figure it out on the actual pass side, to have it play out, correct?
So this system does allow you to run reports then, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Is it possible to get a report of, I guess, where people are going onto the beach, as well as the time of day they're going on? I imagine there's something of a bell curve. They probably go on in the morning mostly. But
Got to look into the second part of that, the first part of it for sure.
I'm sorry, John, say
And there's
that
you
again.
just have to take into account there's a margin of error too of how good are our people in actually doing the scanning that they're supposed to be doing.
yeah. But assuming that they're scanning as
Correct.
they're going on the beach.
Correct.
And I'm guessing if people go off to go to the bathroom, they may scan them again when they come on, so there might be, one person might have multiple on-offs.
Well, that's part of the problem.
True, but it would be nice to have an idea of, A, where people are going,
Yeah,
you know. Again, if we know that most of the people buying this are from out of town, we can see what beaches those people focus on, because that obviously affects parking in that area and things like that, as well as the time of day attitude, because we've also discussed, like, times lifeguards go on and off duty. That would be a valuable piece of data to have of when people are on and off the beach.
And I think to what you were saying, Finn, too, this solution does address the passback problem. Once I've activated the pass for the day on my phone, I can transfer it. So somebody could ostensibly take my phone and use my pass to go off if I'm already on the beach, but you're much less likely to see somebody walk off the beach with 10 phones in their hand as opposed to 10 plastic passes in their pocket.
But it does track where they're going on and what time.
When they're getting scanned in, yes. The time part, I have to double check because I haven't really focused on that one, but the beach
It'll
where they're
definitely show
scanned in,
until
yes.
UPC codes, any of these scan devices these days. And at least we can tell what beach, you can tell what beach then is the busiest. But I have a question, I think it's probably for you, Joe, I don't know if you have it on your sheet there. You said 600 and some odd thousand was the total sales electronically, right? What was the physical pass sales? Do you have that with you?
The total for the season was $4 million for 46,172.
In the hard copies, right?
I'm sorry, that was total.
Oh, that's total.
Yep.
So deduct the 659
Yep.
out of that. Okay.
But, Chris, aren't we talking basically dailies and dailies?
I just want to know total, I wanted to know total, the difference between a hard pass and electronically. So we're at $4 million in total sales, whether it's daily, seasonal, whatever, to my understanding, 659,000 of that, or 600 some odd thousand of it, is electronic.
So about
Yeah.
15%.
What we're just looking at here is
Yeah.
of the non-resident dailies, almost 50% of them are digital.
Yeah, good.
Now,
Okay.
John, what's the price difference between
There is none, but there is a dollar surcharge that goes to the 25 cent for the daily. That goes to the company.
A person pays $1 more for the
For
electronic.
the season passes, it's $1 more. For the daily pass, it's 25 cents.
I mean, really, our problem is we don't need to charge more money. We need to collect more money. You know, we need to make sure that everybody has a pass rather than keep upping the price and nobody buys it. And that's what we have to encourage people to do.
Yeah, I think with this, it's people much more reluctant to hand their phone, especially younger people. Say, here, take my pass, because you're taking their...
That's my life.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's
Well,
good.
I mean, I can tell you, we bought the resident. My family is notorious for losing passes and having to rebuy them multiple times a year. And this thing, we haven't lost a digital pass in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
So
I've lost a few myself.
I did it too.
All right.
Done from
Yeah.
council?
Anybody else?
Question from the public? Oh, okay. Eileen?
Good evening, Eileen Hessian, Long Beach. Usually when we're buying something, you tell us how much it costs. How much does the Yodel Pass cost us for the year, the Yodel system?
there is no charge.
Yodel doesn't charge us
They
anything?
don't charge the city anything, so they make their revenue when they do the surcharge when somebody buys a pass.
Well, that's good. We should do more of that. The other thing is, 4 million tickets sounds like a lot. Oh,
No, no,
first of
It's
all...
dollars.
Not 4
I
million
mean.
tickets, $4 million.
Dollars.
Oh, 4 million.
That's the revenue, yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
that's
originally thought
different.
that too.
I
did too.
I was originally excited when he said that,
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
I
yeah.
realized no.
If we were still broke with 4 million tickets, I would really be
You know,
surprised.
also, to go along with what John was saying about the benefits of having the people scan the ticket, the person in the booth would have to do that extra piece, right? Because I know the person at my booth never even looks when I go through.
None of them do.
So it would kind of show you, if there's a very crowded beach, but only 5 passes for the day, who's letting people on?
Yes.
Okay, and then finally, did we make a profit on the beach this year?
Enid, do you want to take that one?
We were, what was it, 400 or 300 under?
Ina.
Good evening, Ina Resnick, City Controller. It cost the city over $5 million to run the beach operations between different departments, beach maintenance department, lifeguards, beach park, which is selling the tickets and checking them at the boardwalk, as well as specials and other costs that would be allocated to the operations. We collected a little bit under $4 million in 2020, in fiscal 2023, which ran from the July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023, right? So we're losing about $1 million.
We brought in 4 and spent 5.
Roughly, yes.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Yeah.
We've got some work
That
to do.
was a short answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tim?
Hi, Tim Kramer, 361 East Broadway. I'd like to echo Mr. Finn's comments regarding the, when you go skiing, every time you go on the lift, you gotta click your pass.
Yeah.
Okay, so now to do it here in Long Beach, it's a matter of changing that culture. You got to change that mindset. So, and there's a lot of valuable information you can garner from that type of system. And something that I would try and parlay into that is that, if you have somebody that goes to Magnolia Beach every day, then, some of the local restaurants that are specific to Magnolia Beach, maybe they could, have like discount, for a burger or a drink or something. And then each beach would be specific to that person, tailored to that person. So this way you get people coming in from out of town, they kind of know that's, these are available to them in close proximity. So.
Yeah.
Data is knowledge. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In addition to Joe and John, our Deputy City Manager, Phil Ragona, is an expert on beach operations as well. And certainly, would you like to say a couple of things, Phil?
And one other thing, if you change that culture where they click every time you go on the beach, you should be clicking. And I can promise you end up turning a profit.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
We agree.
That's the goal.
Big things, yeah.
Serious.
Well said, Tim. Absolutely.
We'll put it all on Phil to do. Don't worry about it.
So we are doing a whole new retraining with all our ticket takers, our cashiers. There's a whole new methodology going on with that. But in regards to how we're going to try and partner up with our WAY program, with the Long Island Railroad, we now are working with our merchants. We're sending out a blast to all of them, like we did years ago, to try and have a connection where you can have a brochure go out and a pamphlet to everybody who comes onto the beach, offering them a discount from the different merchants in the town to come in and use their stores, use the restaurants, etc. So when they come off the train, they'll be handed that right at the railroad. Come on, go to our restaurants, go to our different businesses in town, and here's the discount you can get. And we're in the process of doing that right now. And we're partnering with the Long Island Railroad to do that, the MTA. Because we want to get more people in and we want them to go out. And the trolley, if you don't know, is for free. So if you come in from the Getaway program from the Long Island Railroad, you get a free trolley ride through town, the West End to the East End, to try and use our different restaurants and our businesses. So we're doing that right now. Yeah, we're doing that right now, Tim. So that's something that we're in the process of. And it'll be this season. This summer season, it'll be happening. So, and as far as what you said about the ticket takers and the cashiers, I've heard those complaints, and we're on top of it. We're gonna make sure that our ticket takers, our cashiers, our specials are out there everywhere. And I can strongly say to you, you're gonna see a difference this year on the boardwalk and on the beach. Our city council is demanding it, and I'm gonna make sure it happens.
Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you. Yes, another question.
Veronica M. Dalton.
I think he's going to move the mic down a little bit. There you go. Yeah. It's a
Sorry.
very sensitive mic.
Veronica M. Dalton, 141 Madison Avenue, Harbor Isle, New York, Island Park. I just have a question, and over the years, this is not just Long Beach, but I've noticed, as far as even in Island Park, the same thing as far as non-resident and resident fees. So in my situation, or in our situation rather, in Island Park, we're not a resident, a village, because we're a town of Hempstead.
Right.
So I have to pay non-resident for family fees. So I find myself, so for years, I've always come to Long Beach. But unfortunately, it's become too expensive. And then I find myself driving to Jones Beach because I can't find parking. And I'm like, wait, I'm driving around for 2 hours, plus I'm paying additional. So at this point, it's not even worth it. I'm aggravated at that point. But I noticed that, for instance, even at Lido, they'll do like the $15 per car. I know you don't have the same setup, but I'm just wondering, has anybody ever thought about a different kind of fee for South Shore residents? Does that ever even come into play, or anybody suggest something
I'd
like
like
that?
to make a swap. They could charge me less money at Lido for golf, and maybe we could make a deal. Something like that. But,
Yeah,
but in actuality, we can't charge by the carload kind of deal because we don't have those kind of parking
Right,
lots,
no,
you know.
I understand that.
I don't know what past councils have talked about or certainly thought about in charging South Shore residents, Island Park residents. I mean, maybe it's something we should
I know people say about the, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know they say, oh, you know, we pay plenty of taxes. But as you know, we're part of the Long Beach,
Yeah.
as far as the school
Yeah,
system.
my sister lives near you.
We're here all the time. You know, I'm constantly going to the restaurant, so it is ingrained in us to just skip on over. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's something we should take under advisement.
I mean, I'm just saying if you're looking to bring in more income,
Right.
might be a way.
That, good
You know,
suggestion.
if there's a way to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
All right. And then when somebody loses a pass, they have to pay for it again? How does that work?
That's why we're moving to electronic.
Happened to me.
That's why, yeah, the electronic.
Yeah, last year, you know,
Yeah, the physical pass, like
Yeah.
if they lose it.
it's archaic.
Yeah.
At least with the digital, I mean, it's tracked and traced.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's going to solve some problems of losing
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah.
Absolutely.
I've lost a couple passes over the years.
I know, I've had to. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, thank you.
Item 6 is a resolution adopting a Title VI policy.
So this resolution adopts the Title VI policy. There were some responsibilities that were shifted more accurately to show what where the actual responsibility lies, and that's why for the council this was taken off of previous agendas. Title VI is a requirement for federal grants and how EEO complaints will be addressed. I do not know if Mike is here. I don't see Mike here, but I should be able to answer some questions. If not, I will have to get back to you on some of the items.
Okay, questions from the council? Question from the public? Yes. Crystal?
Crystal Lake. Good evening, gentlemen. How's
Good evening.
everyone this evening? Regarding the backup documentation.
You got to move the mic up a little bit. There you go,
Okay.
perfect.
Regarding the backup documentation, page 13, paragraph 2. Could you please review that? There may be some additional clarification needed there. I would also like to request that regarding environmental justice component, that there possibly could be an EJ coordinator, an EJ officer, and environmental justice analysis, as well as the environmental justice gentrification study. I think with the potential for any federal or state funds, there also may be a component regarding permitting, which would require Commissioner Policy CP 29, which also pertains to citizen participation. And might I add that citizen participation is crucial. However, meaningful involvement is what's truly important. Laws, policies, regulations, whatever the case may be, is only as good as the enforcement. So we are aware of the Presidential Executive Order 12898, Environmental Justice, signed into law February 11th, 1994 by William J. Clinton. That's to address any disproportionate burdens or communities that are underserved, regardless of race, religion, yada, yada, yada. So in many cases moving forward, health components, there's health equity that also comes into play when there are various activities. So over the years, let's just say the highway implementation, it has been found that due to residential displacement, there's a long history of health concerns, besides of generational wealth that was lost. So in these severe economic times for many individuals, as prices constantly, continuously are escalating, I think that those provisions would actually come into play and benefit the city as a whole, as well as all the residents. So why I'm saying this, I truly hope that you gentlemen will be the ones that will actually listen, hear, and implement, instead of having a repetitive scenario over and over and over and over again. I honestly get no joy out of saying, I'm almost done.
That's what we swore to do, right?
Right.
To listen and respond in the affirmative, no?
Correct. I honestly get no joy out of saying, I told you so. I would rather say, I'm trying to tell you now in advance of what I see, what I read, and what I hear. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Crystal, just so I'm going to look at page 13, paragraph 2, as you said. I think a lot of your concerns are what the Title VI policy is actually about, the environmental justice. So I think, like, for instance, if we raise the fares on the buses, Title VI policies where the complaints, the Title VI policy is what's used to make sure that the fares are not inadvertently affecting one area more than another area. So it's really the policy that's used to move forward and how do you make that complaint and who does it go to and how is it addressed, how is it adjudicated, et cetera. So but I will look at this to make sure that your concerns are involved
Yeah,
in it.
it's not as much as a complaint. It's the implementation of the practices and the policies, which, for example, let's use Bayfront as an example. You might need to utilize a right-of-way. You know, there's many things that can come into play moving forward, and that's why I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Any other questions? Yes.
Good evening, Helen Dorado Alessi, Executive Director of Long Beach Latino Civic Association. I'm especially interested in the language access piece of this work that you're describing here, and would like to recommend that you all look at the policy that currently exists and see how you can bring that together with what you're suggesting. Recommendation also is not only analysis, but also training for city workers to understand what's going to be expected. It's complicated. It's not a simple thing, and training is, a measure of success that we can really look at and monitor. And then the enforcement piece. I know the police department, for instance, does a lot of tracking, so I don't know if there's a tracking component to this that would be helpful for us to understand better the analysis that will go into this, into
kind of
knowing that we're
tracking are you
doing a
talking
good
about?
job,
What kind of tracking are you talking about?
to making sure that the training that's implemented is taking hold, that there are frequent and consistent trainings, conversations, discussions with community. I frankly didn't have enough time to read all of this, so.
Tell me about it.
Right. So that would be my recommendation, to look at the policy that currently exists for Long Beach around language access.
Okay.
And secondly, that we look at, and three, to have someone who is mainly responsible for this, a person, a director, that would be responsible for the language access piece of this, that would encompass the whole city, the police department.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions from the public? Yes.
Hello, Allison Blanchett, Long
Hi,
Beach.
good evening.
Good evening. Is this yearly, an annual?
I believe it's annual. I got to check that, but I know it is a requirement of the federal government. I believe it's
I know
annual.
it is. I know it is required. I'm just
Right.
wondering if the city council reviews this or the city manager.
Yeah, and I
reviews
believe
it
it's
every year.
submitted to FTA as well, to the Federal
Mhm.
Transit Administration.
Yep. Yep. So, kind of want to piggyback on a few comments that we heard from Crystal and from the last two speakers. As far as data goes, in the document that you provided starting on page 5, the program administration, do you guys have a copy of this?
I do.
Okay. So there is a part that talks about the collection of data, and that they're supposed to be, just kind of skimming through here, that there are monitoring things in place annually. And so I'm curious about this data collection. I'm just curious, how are we doing as a city? How have we been? Have we improved? Because if this is something that you are expanding upon at all or taking seriously, you will have benchmarks in place. What are your metrics? Are these updates online? Just kind of speaking to something larger than this, is there an accessibility plan in place to kind of capture all of this and see how you can move forward to make this better, to make Long Beach more accessible for across the generations and abilities, and just for everyone visiting, living here? I'm curious about that. And that kind of goes into the public participation plan. All documents, page 11, all documents, the website, all communication methods ought to be accessible. The website, any PDFs put up should be made accessible. We heard about the need for training for the language, for the LAP, and that kind of weaves into this. Staff that is putting out documents or working on the website, social media, any of that, ought to be trained in accessibility, whether that's how to make accessible PowerPoints, how to make your, the PDFs again. Everything that we put out should be accessible. And finally, at page 13, there is an acknowledgement of no transportation board. This document itself is enough proof you need to take transportation seriously and have a committee, have a board. Transportation affects every single person here, and I'm not just talking about cars. Everybody's a pedestrian. That's transportation. And transportation affects every single department you have here. So I think that just this in itself is enough proof that you do need a transportation board. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay, we'll close that.
Item 7 is a resolution appointing a member to the Board of Ethics of the City of Long Beach.
So as you know, the Ethics Board members need to be approved by the City Council. This resolution is to appoint Lisa Spar as a new member of the Board of Ethics.
Comments from the council? Comments from the public? Okay, close that.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement to furnish and install an air compressor system.
So this resolution is to award the bid to the lowest of two responsible bidders for a new air compressor system for filling up the self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department. Scott Kemmons is here if you have any questions regarding this item.
Question from the council?
Scott, the current one is completely no good right now? Or-
Correct. It is not operational, and it is over 25 years old. It's beyond its useful life. The estimate to repair it would be probably around anywhere between $7,000 and $10,000.
And how long has it been out of service?
It's been out of service now for probably 3 months, give or take. We had a repairman came in and tried to put a Band-Aid on it. It worked for a few days, and then it lived through Sandy. We bought it used. The person we bought it from, the company, took it in on a trade-in from somebody. They sold a new one. He sold it to us and actually allowed us to pay it off over 5 years. That's how when we bought it, we could afford it, and it's way beyond its useful life. And we were able, through the Community Development Block Grant, funds became available for this existing year that needed to be spent by the end of June, but it had to be projects that were already approved, and one of the projects is our firehouses improvements,
Right.
and this was addressed to the county, which they approved it. So all the funds for this new purchase will come from the Community Development Block Grant funds.
And how many bottles do we have?
We have probably about 75 air packs and about 130 bottles.
So it's total of 130 bottles.
Correct.
Right. And there are two different types now? They have the...
Well, presently we use 4.5 bottles. That we have 30-minute and 45-minute bottles. The 4.5 is 4,500 psi of pressure. Scott Manufacturing, who manufactures our air packs, now has come out with 5.5, so 5,500 psi bottles. This compressor, if we decide in the future when we buy new air packs to switch to these, this compressor will be able to fill those bottles also.
And where are we getting them filled right now?
Right now, we have to send them out to a vendor, outside vendor, which costs us, depending, anywhere from $16 to $18 a bottle to fill them.
Uh-huh. And how many actually do we fill each year?
A lot. Guys, so once a bottle is used, even if it was only used for 5 minutes, it can't go back on an air pack to go back into the building. Typically, the air packs we use and NFPA has changed their requirements. We probably get about 12 to 20 minutes of working time out of a bottle in a fire. And that's dependent on how the member breathes. You know, somebody that breathes slower can last probably up to 20 minutes.
The cool guys.
Right. Guys like me, I'm going through a bottle a lot quicker. But once we use it, it has to be then what they call topped off.
Mm-hmm.
If we send it out to get topped off or filled from empty, it costs us the same thing. So they're used, obviously, at every fire. They're used during training exercises. They're also used to power some of our pneumatic tools. So we do go through a lot of bottles every year. You know, we have been filling them in-house for the last 20-some-odd years. And I think we figured it out based upon numbers that within 4 or 5 years, we're going to pay for this new machine that's going to last us probably 30-plus years.
And how often do the bottles actually have to be replaced? Is
Well,
that it?
depending on the type of the bottle, they have to be hydrostatically tested either every 3 or 5 years, and then some of the bottles have a 10-year life, some are longer, depending on what they're made of and when we purchase them. We do have a lot of bottles that have come out of date and have been placed out of service, and we slowly replace them. The bottles are about $1,200 a piece. So, you know, as when we get new air packs, whether it be through a grant or capital funds, we get bottles with them.
So are we, knowing the useful life of a bottle, do we have any plan to, as the bottles age out, so to speak, replace them?
In the past we buy, you know, if 10 bottles go out of service, then we try to buy 10 bottles to replace them. You know, we don't want to buy 50 bottles at one time, obviously that's a lot of money. So that's why we, like, part of this money that we're getting through community development will also be able to buy us 10 new bottles to replace 10 bottles that are being placed out of service.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Any other questions from the council?
Scott answered my question, 30 years. Right, that's what I
And it comes with a 2-year warranty. I actually had the manufacturer, just real quick, Bauer is the manufacturer. They've been in business for 78 years. They have multiple GSA and military contracts for their compressors. There are actually about 10 of them on Long Island, and many of them upstate New York. Westchester Fire Academy has 4 of them. We've spoken to many of the people that use them, and they're all very satisfied with the product.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Comments from the public? All right, thank you. We'll close that.
Okay. Item 9 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding Appendix A zoning. This item is a publication only, and a hearing will be held on April 16th at 7 p.m. Item 10 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding Zoning Board of Appeals. This item is a publication only, and a hearing will be held April 16th at 7 p.m. Item 11 is approval of minutes of prior meeting, March 19th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Okay. On to the voting. So item 1 is a resolution authorizing a hearing officer for the City of Long Beach. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
I'll second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution appointing a hearing officer for the City of Long Beach. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase various T-shirts and athletic apparel with imprints from the lowest responsible bidders. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Based on Dan's watchful eye, I'll vote yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings. Will you just move the adoption of this item?
I do.
Second?
I'll second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an assignment agreement. Will you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second? Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution adopting a Title VI policy. Will you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution appointing a member to the Board of Ethics of the City of Long Beach. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I do.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement to furnish and install an air compressor system. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding Appendix A zoning. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
And finally, item 10, a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding zoning board of appeals. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
City Manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second?
I'll second it.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Ron Paganini.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening, Ron.
I went into a study phase for the last 3 weeks studying the North American supergrid, and I have copies for the manager and for Mr. Finn to look at after. I'll give it to you. And basically, you know, I'm pretty good with electricity, but I really got down to the DC current coming in, 390,000 volts. Now, if that current is live, in other words, if the transformers are not offshore to make it AC current, we got problems, okay? And one of the biggest problems is electrolysis. If for some reason that casing, the concrete PVC, that's what it's made of, leaks or cracks from a surge coming in from the ocean, you know, the storms, right? It will destroy, believe me, completely destroy the water system It will get into the mains, run along into every main, and eat it from the inside out and outside in. Now I'm going to show you something. This is the report. I took photos of the pages that mattered to us about the DC. Now, this is the feasible, in other words, North American Supergrid. This is Supergrid. Technical feasibility and environmental challenges. A major study on how things should be done with the windmills. This is what they say. Man-made infrastructure in the form of oil/gas transportation pipelines must also be circumvented. You cannot put this DC current in any of that. So the same, must be also circumvented. Before this was other things that should be circumvented. Should a HV, high voltage DC line failure occur, free electricity will often jump to and change metallic objects, metallic, copper, cast iron, I don't care what it is. It will charge metallic objects nearby, including oil and gas infrastructure. This in turn may create a dangerous condition that could damage both the conductor itself and other man-made infrastructure nearby. They're talking about electrolysis. Electrolysis is a system where it's electricity introduced into an environment, a damp, wet environment, where there's metal. It destroys it. Now, any boater, anybody who has a boat knows about this. I can't control 12 volts on my boat without it basically putting my zincs on my engine, on the outside of the engines. It will destroy the engine. Okay? So this is crazy stuff. So the main thing is this. Read this, and basically...
Do they have a website, Ron?
Yes, it's on here. The whole report, you go to the website. Okay, so I'm going to give you two of them, and you guys check it out, but listen to me. If this electricity, now they're saying this, the people, the study is saying they cannot go into infrastructure. And Dan knows, I had told Dan, you know, it's not a surprise to Dan, he said he would get back to me and look into it. But if it's offshore, if they're not transforming it into an AC system, which you can do underground, we're destroyed, okay? What that answer is, it cannot come through here. It cannot, because they said it can't go through here. The feds said it can't go through here. And as soon as you find out, okay, you have to call Hochul up, Governor Hochul, and you got to put a stop to it immediately, because any day now, you know, everything's on hold. But you got this rapid law into effect.
Yeah.
It can come down tomorrow. It's going through. Please act very quickly on this. You'll read this stuff, and not only that, okay, you cannot put concrete over this system. It has to breathe. If it don't breathe, it will build up heat to the point where it will collapse the whole system.
I agree with all your concerns.
You got to check this out.
Yeah.
It'll blow you away. And I just can't believe that nobody ever brought this up.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I think you know that everyone on the council is opposed to the cables coming.
Oh, yeah,
the power
absolutely.
cables coming across here.
But that opposal, they say, it's going through anyway. They can push it through. They can.
It's going to be a fight.
But it's not
going to be a battle.
It's not going through if they opposed going through infrastructure. It cannot go through. So they're breaking their own rules.
Okay.
We got them. If that's wild DC current, it's a natural current. You cannot control it. And it's the cheapest current, 10 times cheaper than AC. 10 times cheaper to run that crap. Europe, they use AC.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Wanda Brooks?
Yeah, right.
Good evening.
Evening. I'm glad to hear that the things that's come in for Pacific Playground to the ground to get broken so it can get started.
Thought you'd be
Now,
happy about that.
Patty, you said that we have 148,000 additional funds last month coming in for playgrounds?
I'll have to check that number.
Oh, okay. And you said that you would be able to tell me the cost of the two structures that went into Leroy Conyers Park?
I don't want to come to the microphone. I think, I don't know if Joe Fabrizio was here tonight, but.
Right behind you.
I think he left.
No, he's right there.
Oh, there he is. He was behind Dave Fraser.
He's missed.
I don't have the numbers for the two pieces of equipment that were installed at Leroy Conyers Park, but I'll get that for you. I apologize for that. That's my error. What was the other question you had?
It was $148,000.
Yeah, I think there was a misunderstanding about that $148,000. What happened is when we bid out the Magnolia Boulevard playground, the cost was $1,148,000. $1 million came from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, which is DASNY. What ended up happening is community development / economic development was able to get the remaining like $148,000 from the CDBG program. So in other words, they were getting, it actually cost us nothing. So they were able to get the $148,000 additional money for that park.
For Magnolia.
For Magnolia and Leroy Conyers. It was for both combined.
So since it's additional, are you saying that?
It's not additional.
So
Well,
it wasn't additional?
What happened is the whole project was approximately $1,148,000. We got $1 million reimbursement from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, and about $148,000 from the CDBG program.
So Magnolia's done?
Correct.
And Leroy Conyers is done?
Correct.
I hope not.
Well, remember that when
hope
we
that-
discussed Leroy Conyers, what happened? We had a shuffleboard court there, which
Yeah.
was a concrete paved shuffleboard court that nobody utilized. So the intent of this project was to make a better use of that shuffleboard court. What we did was we put those two toddler units there with nice safety surface.
Which it improved it.
In
and-
lieu
and
of
they
the
needed it,
shuffleboard
but-
court that didn't get any use at all. And we had also put in a little bit before that the big shade shelters that are there and the new barbecue pits that are there. But right now we're concentrating, as you know, on Sherman Brown Park. And just to give you a quick update on that, what we're doing is I'm still finalizing the design. We're coming up with a redesign to incorporate the fitness equipment that part of the committee wanted. And I'm also making some other small modifications to the equipment because we have to deal with shallow footings there because there's a lot of utilities. So the playground manufacturer is doing a slight modification to the equipment. I'm hoping that'll be done by the end of this week, and I could schedule a meeting, with the committee probably and with Dan, of course, maybe in a week or so, maybe even the end of the next week. That's what I'm going to shoot for, and then we'll talk about, hopefully we move forward with that.
I hope so. But I want to know, is there going to be any funds, or can there possibly be any funds squeezed out from somewhere for cosmetic purposes of Leroy Conyers Park?
I mean, Joe and I went over there after, when we received your complaints and concerns like a month ago, and Joe and I went down there. The park is actually in pretty good shape. I mean, compared, the two shade structures are relatively new, the barbecue pits are new, the toddler equipment is new. That being said, my primary focus right now and the city's primary focus is Sherman Brown Park. I'm really
And Pacific, I understand
and
that.
Pacific. I'm trying to make sure we have enough. I actually put $500,000 in the capital budget to make sure to supplement the $350,000 that I already have in there. So I'm going to have $850,000. So I am 100% sure I'll be able to build Sherman Brown Park. Whatever money is left over after that, and there should be about $100,000 left over, then we're going to start looking at Leroy Conyers. But right now, at the budget reasons, we're solely looking at Sherman Brown Park.
Of course.
But I
Pacific.
promise you, we will, whatever money is left, we're going to go back to Leroy Conyers, and we're going to look at things we can do there. And if you want, we could have a meeting down there too, and you could point out any suggestions you have to, make it nicer.
Okay, it's
Okay.
just cosmetics. Because it's a lot of the, especially around the water area, all that floor, the covering.
Yeah, that's
ceiling.
something we could
It's,
absolutely
you know,
do. And I have to say, that's, the spray park equipment is probably one of the oldest things in the park.
Mhm.
If anything was gonna be upgraded as a future project, that would probably be one of them.
Okay.
Because that was probably, yeah, that predates Sandy, that water park.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something, all the water parks in the city are probably, over 10 to 15 years old. So that might be something we could look at.
And what's the cost to power wash? Is that
We can do
expensive?
power washing, we can do internally.
So can that be done like on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, sure. No, I can arrange that through our street maintenance or sanitation department. They both have power washers. Absolutely. No, that's an easy fix.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, I'll try to settle.
Okay? No, yeah, and if you ever have a question,
Okay,
you know where I am. Come up and see
our
me.
water fountain is non-working.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's something we'll follow up with.
Okay.
That's,
So should I
that's,
call beach maintenance to
You could
kind
you call me.
on a regular basis to kind
well,
of
Joe
remind
will
them?
take care of it. One of the Joes, myself
Okay.
or,
All right.
or him will take care of it.
Because it's going to get warmer now, and I want the kids to have water.
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
Take care,
you.
Juan.
Christina Kramer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Christina Kramer. All right, so Vineyard Offshore Wind is coming to our community. I sent it to you, Brendan.
I was going to mention it when Ron talked, but I knew you were coming up, so I didn't want to take your
You
wind
knew
away.
I wasn't going to miss it, right? Okay. So they're coming all over Nassau County, Hempstead, Malvern, Freeport, Uniondale, Oceanside, City of Long Beach, Massapequa. They are coming here to bring their experts, and then on another flyer they say it's just a general discussion. So I'm really curious, why don't we have any information on what Vineyard Offshore Wind is coming here for? What are they planning? Is there some type of format for their meeting? What the time is, the destination? Who are these subject matter experts, and what subject matter will they be speaking? Just randomly, they're coming in. You can only imagine the chatter among my group.
Well, there's no conspiracy there. They didn't call me.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm
Right.
just saying, what's going on?
Yeah,
I think we have the same,
question.
listening to you, I have the same concerns you have, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, us either. I saw it online. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on? Got to find out. That's what I'm here for.
All right.
Yeah, and they dumbed it down to general information. So really concerning. Who are they? Where are they coming from? What are they planning? How many windmills? Where are they going? Have nothing.
Even what their conversations about.
Right, why are
What
they
are
coming
to
here?
talk about?
Exactly.
Has anybody notified the city, Dan?
No, not yet.
So it could just be online.
So I'll get details on it. I'll call them tomorrow.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, my assumption is, and I hate to do that, but they have a federal lease out.
Well, that's my concern too. I want to know all about it. Why haven't we seen an environmental impact statement? Why would you be coming here to discuss something with the residents we don't even know about? How would we be having a Q&A about things we don't know what kind of questions to ask about? It's insanity, honestly.
I guess we'll have to listen to the presentation and then.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Well,
the
who
fur
knows
fly.
if it's true? It could be like.
But we don't know where it
yeah,
is,
it
'cause
could be
they
something
don't say.
private. They could set something up at one of these restaurants and inviting people.
Right.
I don't know what did you see like an invitation online? Or is it just
Yeah,
people
I'll send
chattering?
it to you. I did send.
Yeah, send
I
it to
sent the
me.
first part to Brendan, but there was another one, like a flyer from the actual day.
Oh, it's from them, yeah.
There's one presentation that
Yeah.
already happened. So and then
Here in Long Beach?
No, that one was in Hempstead.
Okay, John, you know about it? I guess.
It's also
Hold on.
Garden City too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't discussed with them any of the particulars of their meeting or their project, but this was Excelsior Wind, right? This is
No,
a different-
Vineyard.
Vineyard.
Oh, well then, all right, so then they're.
I'll send it
they're
to,
out
I'll
there.
send it to everybody. I mostly harass Brendan because I don't think everybody wants to
got
hear
it
from me
right
on the
there.
regular. Okay, so just a couple other questions. If it was as easy as to do what you did 20 minutes ago by anointing somebody part of the Ethics Committee, Mr. Crichton, this one's for you, sorry. Why haven't I heard anything back about the Environmental Committee? A yay or a nay, or like an appointment or something?
So we're still working on a lot of the committees. We're still interviewing people. Unfortunately, there's a lot more positions on the ethics, so we're trying, a lot more positions on the environmental committee, but we are appointing people, and we should get back to you shortly. It's just we want to make sure we do all the interviews.
Okay, great. And I just want to take a second to thank Ron Paganini. I hope you guys go through that document. I had a great conversation with him, and I think it's really important that we understand the gravity of not bringing high voltage cables through our community. And according to Ari Brown, he feels that the Rapid Act will indeed pass, so I hope you guys are in for the fight of your life. It's going to be a battle to keep these wires out of here. And as far as Empire One goes, I'm just wondering if you're putting together something for mitigation, because in Virginia, they're having foundation cracks, mirrors falling, sound 24 hours a day. I know that that's not coming through us, but I believe that we'll be impacted by what's going on with Empire One. So I just want you guys to start getting prepared.
Yeah.
That's all.
I don't know how we could get that taken out of the budget. I mean, that's the problem. Rapid Act.
Well, you can't do it. I understand that. But if that gets passed, the next thing will be, what is she going to be circumventing?
Yeah,
And that's
right.
when you guys are going to have to step into action.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Just,
you.
Christina, just so you're aware, it's Vineyard Wind is the developer that was chosen for the Excelsior project. So that's where they are, the back end of where Empire 2 is proposed. They've got that wedge.
Which used to be RWE?
That I'm not sure about. Let's talk tomorrow. But it's Excelsior Wind. That lease was awarded to.
697 behind the 200?
I have to go back. I just know that the back of the pie, you got Empire 1, Empire 2, and then Excelsior is back there. And that's Vineyard.
Another back door.
Thank you. Tim?
Hi, Tim Kramer. I got a couple of things I want to try and get through, so I'll try and move quickly. The first thing I want to talk about is the gateway. I call it the gateway coming off the bridge, Long Beach Road. I call it the gateway into town. So we'll start with the sidewalk. So if you start in Island Park, the street lamps are clustered in the median part on that side of the bridge. And then you get on the bridge itself, the street lamps are on the railing. And then you get on the Long Beach side, the street lamps are directly in the center of the sidewalks. So, and I bring this up because, you know, I've walked and biked over this bridge many times, and first of all, it's crazy dangerous coming, you know, with a bike coming over that bridge, and you got to navigate street lamps and things like this. And I would also argue that if you're physically challenged, and you say you're in a wheelchair, you're going to have a almost impossible time navigating this bridge. So I don't know if there's maybe something that, you know, Albany can come in and give us some funds to kind of redo this, where it would be navigation, you know, with, so that's the first thing. And then also the banks on each side directly off the bridge. There's a lot of weeds and various, you know, trees that need to be handled or groomed, or, you know, somebody get in there with a weed whacker and make this more palatable. And then the median itself, I think there's a lot of space in there that we can use to put more vegetation in. You know, I just think that you're making a first impression coming over that bridge. It's got a very industrial look to it because you got utilities that go across the street. There's not a lot of trees. And whatever we can do to make it more palatable that way, I think we should really pursue that. So
Where are you talking about, in front of Center Mill, or are you talking about on the bridge itself, like as you come down towards Center Mill?
With what particular part? With the
what you're talking about?
So when you get off the bridge on the Long Beach side, the banks, there's weeds, there's various trees that have grown, I think we can get all that cleaned up.
Tim, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
So I can follow in my head. When you come over, you're talking left and right, like on Sedemill and where the tennis courts are.
Correct.
It's the actual banks.
The banks itself, correct.
I've complained about that myself, and I was
Right.
told in the past that's Nassau County Bridge Authority.
Well,
which to me,
yeah.
I would say, hey, send in our guys, and then,
Yeah, well,
because it does look disgusting, and just the other
you got
day-
street lamps, you got the median itself, there's a lot of area to put some beach grass in there, just to, and then, all the way from the end of the bridge to Long Beach, check that, to Park Avenue, there are very little trees, and like I said, it's, it's a challenge in itself because it's an industrial area with a lot of the businesses there, so whatever we can do to make it more palatable, more, just more pleasing, driving into the town for the first time.
I agree with what you're saying in some points, but I also don't like what they did on Austin Boulevard. They made it harder to navigate for cars.
A good
So
friend of ours was...
we got to be careful what we wish for here.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, trees, beach grass, handle some of the overgrown on each bank coming over the bridge. And then, also, I mentioned this different times with the train station. So you have the ticket building, and then you have that canopy that's in the back, and then you have your platforms where the trains are, right? So that area, that canopy, it's dark. It's dark all the time. It could be 4th of July, 3 in the afternoon, and it's dark back there. So the lights that they have back there are, it looks like you pulled them out of an Amish barn, to be honest with you. They're very old, archaic, and there's 10 of them. And I think if we were to replace the bulb itself, it would make a big difference. And these lights should be on all day, every day. It would give it a sense of safety, and so I think it'd be prudent for someone to get a hold of the railroad and just say, listen, can you replace the bulbs and leave the lights on all day, every day, 24/7? I mean, I don't think that's asking a lot. So I think that'd make a big difference.
So, Tim, I'll just touch on the second part of what you said. The first part is going to be difficult only because it's a county road. We don't own it, so it's hard for us to do work on it. I did meet with MTA yesterday, specifically to walk them through the station itself and to show them the condition of it. They do know that it has to be done. They do have it planned for the future. I think they actually set aside, I believe, $20 million for the upgrade of that station.
Wow, that's fantastic.
The problem is there's no design yet, so we're talking it's years out. I know the way MTA works, and they'll have to get a design. First they'll do a preliminary design, and the final design will be involved during that process. But it will be a while before this work gets done, because I
Right.
could tell you there's structural issues there with the canopies. The paint has been off a lot of that structural steel for quite a while. It's starting to rot through. I did point these out. They're aware of it now. I think they were aware before, but they are going to work with us on doing it, but it will not be something that will happen in the next year.
Right. Well, two other things that maybe you could bring up to these people. Number one, the paint that's peeling. I mean, John would probably know more than me. That's probably lead paint. I mean, who knows what's, that's the first safety environmental issue. And the second problem, to put proper lighting in there that's not a big ask.
Yeah.
I think it would be a quantum leap forward. My wife uses that train a lot, and it's a dark, dingy, just you don't get a sense of safety.
I'm hoping if we maybe can talk from a safety factor, it might spur them.
Yeah.
Because everybody is afraid of lawsuits.
Right.
I think since they'll do the canopies over anyway and the structural work, we'll just push that lighting issue.
Right.
That's a definite.
Yeah, as a temporary. But all right, thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Hessian, you get to close it out again. That's 2 meetings in a row as the closer. Like Mariano Rivera coming in with the music, right?
Got to play Metallica.
Good evening. I was going to bring up the railroad, so thank you very much for covering that. The medical pavilion and the hospital. At this point, I think the hospital should be condemned. It has broken windows, and it's just gross to look at. Do you have any control over that, or is that just with the hospital?
I was just there today, meeting with
really?
a couple of people from Mount Sinai. It is really sad to look at those two buildings and think of what we had at one time. I mean, maybe it wasn't the greatest hospital in the world, but at least we had a hospital.
Right.
And that's awful. But the building that they have put up is, have you been inside? It's an amazing, a beautiful building. The medical, I can't
Pavilion.
think. The name is escaping me.
Pavilion.
The Pavilion, right. I was just there, too.
But I
Boy.
have a comment about that.
Okay.
It's beautiful when you walk in on the bay side, but on the other side, it's total weeds. Now, they had promised good landscaping, and what they put up there was beach grass, but it attracts rodents, and I've written to the hospital about it, and they say, thank you for your concern. That should be taken care of
Yeah,
for those
you're right.
for those people.
Yeah.
So if you have any say in that, and then also the hospital, God knows what's in there. I hope you didn't go in.
Well, you'd wear an A-suit if you went in there, right? But
Yeah, right.
I'd say that they're trying to make plans to do something with that, and they're not far along in the process, but they have things in mind that we are going to discuss with them. Of course, it's going to take, you know what,
Yeah. All right.
money, but there are plans.
The other thing, the other building that maybe should be looked into is the one across the street from Lancer. I mean, that thing has been empty for a long time, and it's probably
That was a great place to go for physical
yeah,
therapy.
for a
in the
short
day.
time.
Right.
Also, I took a walk around the canals the other day, and it's absolutely beautiful. The decks that they've built, and the barbecue sections, and the playgrounds for their children, it's absolutely gorgeous. However, it is Long Beach property. I know they don't pay to use it, they don't have to pay rent. I guess, I don't know, something should probably be done about it, but what concerns me now is I don't believe it's insured. So if somebody trips over their barbecue grill or their playground on Long Beach property, we're going to be in trouble. So I hope that you can look into that. They also have boats docked there. It looks beautiful, but I don't know, there should be some responsibility to the city.
We've discussed this already. It's a good point, and it's going to have to be addressed. The question is...
I mean, take a look around. They have really invested a lot of money into beautifying your neighborhood, not theirs. They don't own it. It's... Okay, so good. I'm glad you're paying attention to it. The Long Beach Garage, I know some people say it's a landmark, but it's kind of an eyesore, too. Maybe something could be done about that. And then a very simple thing. If you kept the lights on in Kennedy Plaza, I think that would be very pretty. Now everyone can go home. Thank you very
And the water
much.
fountain's going too, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. And that's it for good and welfare. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out. It was a wonderful meeting. I appreciate all your comments. We all appreciate your comments. And we want to work hard to make sure that we can implement the things that you want. No talking. I'm kidding. Okay. Have a great night.